So
Yeah, totally. And it's funny because a lot of us, most of us actually, we're all spread out. Like we're all in a different state. And
yeah,
it's like I can't help but wonder if it's well, actually I know it's designed that way. So it's like we did this on purpose to ourselves. So
exactly.
yeah, so it's like we all did this free fall together. Um basically with a soul contract, a soul agreement to come to Earth and help. Um, which means that we are all Earth angels because what that means is a part of our soul actually had to, we had to descend to come down into this 3D density, which means we sacrificed a part of our essence, and that makes us angelic.
Yeah.
So,
And
so
it's so funny because when I was young and I was just like kind of I went through like hell realms and just had terrible experiences growing up. And I remember like kind of throwing a fit, be like, I would never choose this. I would never do it, just to come to things to come full circle and realize like I created this as
yeah.
all these things were catalysts. The, all the times where I was like in seclusion, alone, going through all these things is like, yeah, I created this as a catalyst. And now looking back on everything, I could just see it clearly.
Hmm.
But
Exactly.
it's been a journey getting to this point.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And so to even get to starting to want to embody Christ consciousness and God mode more and more, it was a journey, a lot of healing that I had to go
Mhm.
through to even like get to this. And this is where my journey led me. um I remember some years back looking at things like psychedelics like Bufo and ayahuasca. I kind of skipped right past Bufo, like you know what I'm saying. I was because at that time I was so identified still. Like I thought I had made a lot of spiritual progress, but I was still attached to my ego and
Mhm.
identifying with my thoughts and stuff at that time. And I was like, I pushed Bufo right out the way. Like my ego was like, I'm not even going to consider that right now because it just seemed I didn't understand it too, and it just seemed a lot. And so I wasn't ready for that time. I was more waiting for like ayahuasca to kind of call me, and I was just
Mhm.
waiting on that. And I had an experience with mushrooms. I did it one time, and it was such a because I was looking for a healing at that time. I was like, I need a miracle. I had just got over alcoholism, and so I had all this trauma. I was like so traumatized, and I'm like, I
Mhm.
need a miracle. So I started to look into um, mushrooms, and I think it was about 3 grams, something like that. And it gave me, it was like the one thing that kind of like cracked in, like, I was like in my ego, and it just like kind of cracked through my ego a bit and allowed
Mhm.
me to see like, because I heard about higher states of consciousness, but at that time I didn't really understand it. And
Yeah.
mushrooms, I was like, oh, this is higher, these do exist, because I heard people talk about it, but I didn't really have the experience, so I didn't get it. And then
Mhm.
the mushrooms was the first time I realized that higher states of consciousness was real. But I remember thinking, if I could access this state of consciousness, man, I'd be like a magician.
Mhm.
um, but I knew I would go back to normal afterwards, and my thoughts would just be like, especially at that time, they were just like just completely, I was kind of a slave to my thoughts. But it showed me that we are separate from our thoughts. And
Mhm.
I didn't know at that time there was a reality without a bunch of thoughts.
Yeah.
And that showed me that there's a state of no mind. And so like that was kind of like a big part of my awakening. And that allowed me to to begin to get deeper in my spiritual journey and to try to access more of that state of no mind, you know,
Mhm.
sober. So I just went on that journey, and then it eventually, um, and so like, yeah, that was a really big turning point. And so, I was watching Pete Sapper's um, podcast, and you, and you talked about the retreat in Bufo, and then something in me at that time, because I felt ready now, like something in me is like, that's me.
Yeah,
I'm going, like, I'm ready for that. Still
that's
terrified of
awesome.
it. You know what I mean? My ego's still kind of like, but I'm ready for it. So
That's awesome. That makes me so happy. And with Bufo, it is very normal for people to have fear that haven't sat with it before. Um, because it is an intense experience. But the thing with Bufo is that even though it's classified as a psychedelic, like they say it's the strongest psychedelic known to man.
mhm,
In my humble opinion, Bufo doesn't really act like a psychedelic in the sense of a lot of people don't get these hallucinations with Bufo like you would with ayahuasca or mushrooms or other psychedelics. Um, with Bufo, it's more of a feeling. So it's a feeling and it's also a remembrance of the truth of who you are, like the highest truth of who you are.
mhm,
And so it's a bridge to spirit. It's a bridge to God. It's a bridge to your higher self. And it allows us to experience this in a way that is tangible because we feel it.
mhm,
It's not just seeing it or hearing it. Um, it's knowing it. That's what Bufo does for us. It gives us this tangible knowing.
mhm,
Um, and the first time I sat with Bufo, I had never sat with any psychedelics before. So I had no idea what it was like to sit with psychedelics. And of course that's me though. Of course I would just jump straight into Bufo.
yeah,
Um but it so when going into Bufo, one of the most important things is setting your intention, because whatever your intention is, that's what your experience is going to be, and it is going to show you. Like you are going to get whatever answers you're looking for. And for me, my intention was I wanted to know what it was like to embody the consciousness of Christ.
mhm,
And so what happened was I was brought back into the womb, and Jesus was holding me as I was looking at God. And so it obviously was like the most profound, beautiful experience that ever happened to me. And at that point, I was like, okay, I have to get this medicine out to the rest of the world because this is kind of a
yeah,
big deal. So, but the fear going into it is super, super common. And I even like when I microdose, when I do ceremonies, I'll connect with the medicine with a microdose. And every time I connect with the medicine, I get a little bit nervous, but it's more in a way of just myself having a lot of respect for the medicine. Um, so, so what I do as a facilitator, my job is to create the safest possible container for you to be able to have the best possible experience. And so there's certain things that we will do that basically will move your consciousness up. Um, so we'll make sure that you're in higher states of consciousness before you even go into the medicine.
okay,
And with that, everyone I facilitate for tells me that their experience was beautiful. So um so yeah, it's normal, and just know that like I got you and it's going to be beautiful.
yeah. I believe you because I go with my intuition, and then something about hearing you talk about it, I was like, that's who I want if I'm gonna do
That's
this. So like I
awesome.
just had knowing that's it's the same thing I want is to have the tangible experience, because I've been kind of like I have my own experiences, and I have a knowingness that we're divine fractals of God, and we're just energy frequency beings, and but I want that Bufo tangible experience so I can step more into my purpose. And I've also heard it is good for trauma and ancestral healing, and I
Yeah.
have a lot of trauma in my family and in my ancestry, so that's real important to me too. But I want to be of service and be able to step into my purpose more. And I think and embody Christ consciousness more, so I can step into my purpose and help people. Because I definitely think that this is the key to we need to like lift the world to a higher frequency. And we have to start embodying that. And I really believe that that's the key to creating a better world for people. And so I want to do my part in kind of like stepping into it. Part of the fear for me I was raised, like, my mom's a minister, and they're heavy Christian fundamentalists. And so, you know, stepping into like Christ consciousness and embodying the divine, which that's a truth of who we are. But embodying that, is, I'm sure you know, is like the worst thing in the world to, to the Christian fundamentalism, to the matrix and everything like that. So I know there's still, even though I've overcome a lot of programming, I know still in my nervous system and still in my subconscious, there's that programming. And I know that's part of the fear. Also, like you said, it's kind of a respect thing, you know what I mean? To have some fear and stuff like that. So, you know what I'm saying? But I'm really excited. I'm really excited to do it. And I want to, whatever I come out with it with, I want to be able to like use that to help people, in their journey and stuff like that.
Exactly. And that's the whole point of it. So it's like we go into the medicine and we're able to access this super high state of consciousness, higher than we ever have. It takes us to the highest dimension. And so what this does is it reminds us of the energy that created us. It reminds us of what our state of being was before we incarnated here. And once we get that knowing, that reminder, that remembrance, what we want to do is we want to take that with us moving forward after the experience. So, and really that's what the integration process is all about, is integrating this experience into your life and adjusting things accordingly. And more often than not, that will require people to make some pretty big changes. And so it is a process, and that's what Pete's really been working on, is this integration process, and like how can he help all of you integrate this big experience. And so that's why him coming to the retreat is going to be such a blessing, because we're going to be doing like a group integration meeting after the ceremony, and we're going to really be working with all of you guys. And ultimately it's an experience of God, source, creator. And so what we want to do is we want to anchor that to the earth. So that's anchoring heaven to earth. And with Bufo, it's really, really cool because it is a conscious medicine. After the experience, we can tap into the experience as often as we'd like. Like, the consciousness of the medicine never leaves us. And we actually realize it was with us the whole time, even before we sat with it. So it's really common for the medicine to begin working on people before they sit with it, like days or weeks before they sit with it. The language of the medicine is synchronicity, and time isn't linear with Bufo. Time is all encompassing, because time is really just a construct of the matrix. Time is a way to store data in the matrix, and that's it. And so with Bufo, it's the same exact thing as spirit. So the language of spirit is also synchronicity. So what I do is, everyone who sits with the medicine, I'll send you guys the playlist. So the music that you listen to while you were in the experience, because frequencies are everything also. And so after the experience, when you get home, you can turn on this music and just kind of get into a relaxed state, and you can go back into the medicine. So it's really beautiful. It's like you take this experience with you for the rest of your life.
Yeah, I had it was interesting because I think like it was a week ago or something like that. I had a dream where I was smoking something and it was like at a retreat, but you know how dreams are, you're just in that moment and you don't
Mhm.
know the what led to it. All you know is you're smoking something and I didn't really know what I was smoking. But I was smoking something and I was like at a retreat. And then I was like, it's not working. And then all of a sudden, like I remember everything turned white and
Wow.
it was like I was in the presence of God and my ego was like it's Bufo like you know what I mean right like nobody prepared me for it and it was funny but I was just in that experience and I remember like kind of like a bunch of fear coming up but at the same time a bunch of knowledge was coming at me and it and something told me like calm down that fear you're going to miss the knowledge you're going to miss the information that you're getting so I kind of like my fear got calmed down and I started to just be present and try to get what it was getting. I remember
Yeah,
it was and so like yeah that was and it told me some things that I remember that I but it was interesting that like I'm not sure like how related that is to but
that's
it's a dream
awesome.
it's a
I
dream
love
I
that.
had but it also told me it's like kind of like when you do it don't let like kind of like put your fear on the backs try to as much as you can put your ego what I mean don't let your ego kind of take over and stuff like that
Yeah. That's
yeah
amazing. And that's exactly what I was just talking about. So that's the medicine working before you even sit with it. What you just described is a Bufo experience. Like seeing that white. A lot of people will see these white fractals of light. That's and in my opinion, that's God. My interpretation of it is God, source, creator, that energy. Um, and the medicine is conscious, so it will talk to you. Like while you're in the medicine, it will talk to you, like you'll get information from it, and sometimes it even has a sense of humor. Like it's not uncommon for people to start laughing their asses off because they got some profound insight in the funniest possible way from the toad. um and um and so yeah, it's super super common. And when going into the medicine, this is how I know you that was the medicine working on you already, because um the best thing you can do is surrender to it. So that means letting go of the fear and just being open and receptive to what it has to show you, what it wants to tell you. So yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about. It starts working before you even sit with it.
I remember these I thought it was weird because like it told me I was divine but then it asked it was like if you want to reincarnate as a lizard and it said something about my left hand and like you know this with your I don't know but but yeah that's what it and I remember saying like why would I want to reincarnate as a lizard like you know what I mean kind of like the kind of thing or whatever but yeah that's what came up and yeah
Wow.
synchronicities you mentioned synchronicities wasn't anything I had like looked at until I my grandma passed and a few years ago and I was getting moving along on my spiritual journey like I was thinking like yeah like I got this kind of thing and then I started seeing that's when I started seeing a bunch of numbers and I was never
Mhm.
and at first I was just like whatever coincidence but it just kept happening so extreme like every time I would look and certain things I would be thinking and I would look over and see and now it's just a part of my is just a part of my normal experience but and then that led into my it led right into a twin flame experience where had no clue what that was I didn't know what a twin flame was I didn't believe in none of that but it happened and I was a certain conscious like I was present so I was noticing I'm like this is weird this is something I don't know what this is about but there were so many like undeniable things that were happening
Mhm.
and so yeah and then that kind of catalyst kind of came in and kind of like
Yeah.
was the thing to help propel me more out of my ego because I almost had to like drop my ego just to survive. You know what I mean? Just to survive.
Yes.
So that kind of was a thing that kind of like, got me out of my ego. And I would have never believed in that if I hadn't had the experience. And then
Mhm.
my kind of journey started to lead to, embodying it and doing the work to and release a lot of detachments.
Mhm.
Like I had, so I released a lot of detachments even before you came in to Bufo, because I was doing kratom to like cope and things like that.
Ah,
And with especially after that twin flame experience, and I was doing, so I had to like break that,
yeah.
and so and then just kind of learn to feel all my emotions and feel all my trauma. And so it's been a long journey of like kind of healing and detaching from things that I never thought I'd be able to detach from, psychological things, a lot of reprogramming,
Yeah.
you know what I
Oh,
mean,
yeah.
and all that stuff.
And that's what the twin flame journey is for, might I add. It's basically um it's such a torturous experience that it kind of does force you to reevaluate everything that you ever thought you knew to be true about yourself.
Yeah.
Um, so it does catalyze an ego death. And it's good though. I mean, there's a purpose for these twin flame experiences. And kratom is something that's been coming up a lot with a lot of people lately too. And I've heard it's super, super addictive. And my thing, so the way that I look at substances is that if it's legal or easy to get, it's probably not good for you.
Yeah.
Like alcohol, for example. When these things are really easy and you can just go somewhere and buy them, like
Yeah.
we might want to pause and ask ourselves why. Why is this so easy to get?
Yeah. Alcohol, because kratom was one of the things where it's like I was 10 years from drinking. I was a heavy alcoholic. And kratom was like, well, I need a little something, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
that's when and that kind of, grew more and more. And yeah, alcohol was just had me on such a low frequency
Oh
and just
yeah.
like creating the word like a terrible reality. It's
Yeah.
it's so interesting, like knowing what I know now and looking back. I'm like, man, like because I was manifesting at that time, but I was manifesting like disaster after
Yeah.
disaster created, and it was like, and so yeah, it's nice to get away from that. And I had so many like entity attachments
Oh
that
my
it's
gosh,
very
yeah.
crazy. Like,
Yeah. I think we've all been there at one point or another. Um, Everyone from the 144,000 oversoul, like we've all walked through hell and we've all tried every freaking cope imaginable to get through that hell that we created for ourselves.
yeah,
Um, Only to get to this place where we're realizing, our how powerful we truly are and why we're here, and we're coming together, and we're sharing our stories, and like it's the best feeling ever knowing that we're not alone. Like we all walked
yeah,
through these hell realms thinking that we were all alone,
yeah,
and we just didn't know that there were a bunch of others, who were going through the same exact thing for a similar purpose. And so that's one of my favorite things about um, getting together. When we come together, like at the retreat and when I do group ceremonies and stuff like that, I think I'm, yeah, I'm pretty sure it's my favorite thing actually out of all of it is soul family coming together, because that's our real family.
hmm,
Um, we recognize each other on this deep soul level. So it's like we all see each other's souls. And that's something we're not used to. We're not used to people being able to see us for our soul.
yeah,
We're used to people, seeing us for what we can do for them, or seeing us for our flesh, or whatever it is that they see us for, but it's never usually our soul. So that's why coming together with soul family, is that alone is so incredibly healing. And it's just this unconditional love and acceptance, like come as you are, however you are, whatever's going on, like it doesn't matter, we love you no matter what. And so So it's just freedom to be your most authentic self. And that's also something that we're not used to. We haven't had that in our lives.
Yeah.
And so that to me is what heaven on earth looks like, is just unconditional love and authenticity.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been a journey for me to step into my authentic self and share, because I never imagined. I just thought I was completely the only person that was having these experiences, and I couldn't really share them with anybody. I would from time to time, but nobody I knew what I was talking about, and they kind of brushed me off like, yeah,
Yeah.
whatever, what are you talking about? But and I knew it was always really important. So I kind of like I would always think about it and stuff like that. So it's really trippy to see, people like you, people like Pete, Samantha that get it, that have different experiences, and then people like, you know, and so it's like, yeah, a lot of people on YouTube, I can't even listen because I'm like, they don't get the full picture. They don't, what I'm
Hmm.
saying? So it's really refreshing, to see more people, and to just for myself to step into my authenticity,
Yeah.
and to break out of all the things I was trying to be to, appease people and all the brainwashing, and to get rid of all the programming so I could be myself. And so like
Hmm.
that's like so refreshing, as far as like manifestations goes, like that's the greatest manifestation for me is not the material stuff, but a lot of the stepping into your power, getting rid of all that programming, that brainwashing, seeing how the system operates and being able to not be a part of it, you know what I mean, and get all that. That's so
Hmm.
yeah, that's amazing. And uh, know that there are like-minded people, you know what I mean, that have
Yes.
these experiences, have gone through similar hells that you've gone through, you know what I mean, and all that. So it's like, and to see
Yes.
spiritual people, that are authentic, you know what I'm saying. There's a lot of people, in my journey, they've offered me some good information to lead to the next step and the next step. But
Yeah.
yeah, a lot of the people in the spiritual community, it's kind of like I have to like let a lot of them go because they just don't
Hmm.
resonate with me at this point. But
Yeah. And that's the most important thing, is that what the information that you're getting is resonating. And if it's not resonating, just, we have to walk away from it. Um, and truly, like, what you consume will consume you. So, um, I tell everyone this, like, I'm so mindful with everything I expose myself to. I don't own a TV. Um, and I don't watch the news. I don't listen to the radio. As far as music is concerned, there's only certain frequencies that I'll listen to. So there's certain songs that I'll listen to, all of which are on the playlist for the Bufo ceremony. Um,
mhm.
because frequency is everything. That's what keeps us in a high state. If we listen to high frequency music, and most all of the music that's out there is not high frequency, and it has
Yeah,
all of these subliminal messages, and so we have to protect ourselves from that crap, because what you consume will consume you. And um, so the three things that help our soul evolve basically is light, so like the sun, different spectrums of light, frequencies, so sound, and symbols. And so these three things are what I'm going to be incorporating into the retreat as much as I possibly can, because these three things actually activate our dormant DNA. So we want to activate our 12 strands of DNA, that most people don't even know exist.
yeah,
So so that's when our superpowers come online, and that's when things get really fun. So
nice.
so yeah.
Yeah, frequencies. Yeah, frequency is really important. Yeah, I've broke a lot of addictions to like TV and stuff like that, and not watching the news. And I'm really particular about where my focus goes now, because I understand how important your focus is.
Yeah.
And so my music, because I used to just I'd be in the most low vibrational music. There is a lot of music that I still enjoy that I know is like low
Yeah.
vibrational, and so that's probably the next. But I balance it out, I think, good. But yeah, there are like certain kind of music that I'm attached to, because I'm into
Hmm.
hip hop and stuff like that. So that I probably eventually might have to drop off more and more, but yeah, but as
It's a
far as
process.
yeah, but as
It's a
far as
process.
yeah, as far as yeah, TV, it's like, and that, but that's how they get you. If they keep you, they want to keep you on that low frequency and keep you like the news will keep you in that aggravated, angry, divisive state, and then you manifest, a bunch of disasters, and then the processed food that people are eating keeps you low frequency, and so and then you become addicted to all these things, and then you have all these programs, and you don't realize you're a creator because they separated God from you. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? And so you think you're like a kind of like waiting for people to save you, and or you know Jesus to save you, and
Hmm.
or politician to save you,
Yeah.
and it's like everything is the opposite. And so when you see it now, it's kind of like, man, and you just see it's a mess. So yeah, I definitely know raising the consciousness of people is where it's at. Like we're not going to get there from like depending on something outside of us. Like
Exactly.
they tricked us to think that we have to do that. The key is in here.
Yeah.
And that's like
Yeah.
that's the kind of like, it's kind of hilarious. Like,
Mhm.
you know, the evil genius of the system to like
It
convince you.
is. It's funny. Like if you actually look at this stuff, like the dark and like how we fell for it, and a lot of people still are falling for it and get into this
Yeah.
panic. You eventually get to this place where it's just freaking hilarious. Like all you can do is laugh about it because you know that it serves a purpose.
Yeah.
And the whole purpose of that is to push us into the light. But
Yeah.
while we are falling for it, when we are in that darkness, it is not fun. It is not fun at all.
Yeah.
But
And
but
all your energy is drained.
yeah. And that's how you know though that you're on the right path and your soul is making progress is when you can laugh about that shit.
Yeah.
I mean, like when you can laugh about it, you are doing a good job.
Yeah. And I think that laughter kind of like raises your frequency too.
Yes, humor, absolutely. And that goes back to inner child, honestly. When we connect with our inner child, that also catalyzes our spiritual growth because, I mean, if you think about it, the way that a child perceives the world is with this sense of curiosity and awe. Like everything is new and amazing, and they want to explore, and they're just so open and receptive to the world around them. That's how we evolve. And so that's why I'm always connecting with my inner child. Like my neighbors think I'm crazy because I'm always running up and down my streets like a fairy, because I am a fairy.
Yeah.
um, that's inner child. I'm always swinging on trees. Like I go crazy with it because it's so much fun and it catalyzes our spiritual growth. So, um, so that's another thing that I do with some of my Bufo ceremonies. I have an inner child ceremony that's a lot of fun. Like we get like slappy toys and Play-Doh and like
Yeah.
all kinds of stuff. It's so much fun.
Nice. And it's also important for people to know like you can get that stuff back. Like me, when I was kind of I thought I lost a bunch of stuff like that, I was kind of detached from my inner child in a way. Like I lost my
Mhm.
sense of humor. I was kind of like taking things too serious. And then also the journey of awakening. It's nice to know like you can start to get, the more you heal, the more you start to get a lot of the things that you thought you lost,
Mhm.
and you start to integrate them back, and you start to feel whole again. So yeah, so,
Yeah.
yeah. So that's like amazing too, to know you can feel so disconnected from a lot of your old self, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
And you can get reconnected with it. You just have to go through the
Exactly.
process of healing.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, that's kind of like the soul retrieval process. And I hate labels. Like honestly, I don't like language at all because I feel like it's so limiting, but it's
Yeah.
all I got right now. So, I do what I can, but soul retrieval. So that's what that is. It's like when we're a kid, we're forced to push parts of ourselves away from ourselves because our survival depends on, like, if our parents don't love and accept us, we're screwed. Like, our
Mhm.
survival depends on us behaving how they want us to behave. So if there's an aspect of us that they don't like, then what we do is we push it away from ourselves. And then as we get older and we become adults, there's this emptiness, and we don't know why, and we're like, what the heck? And it's because of that part that we pushed away from ourselves. So coming together with soul family members is really beautiful, because we each bring something to the table. We each bring different personality traits to the table, and talents and abilities and gifts and all of that stuff. And what it does when it's with your soul family is it actually ignites that within yourself. And essentially, it's a permission slip for us to take that part of our soul back.
Yeah.
Um, so we all activate each other, really, and we all give each other permission to do whatever we need to do to become whole again, to know that we are whole. And that's also the beautiful thing about Bufo is, the first time I sat with it, my sister was like, okay, so how are you different after sitting with Bufo? And I was like, honestly, I'm not. I'm just more whole. I'm just more of myself.
Mm.
So Bufo shows us that we're not broken. We were never broken. We've always been whole, and we've always been complete. We just forgot. We just bought into the Matrix bullshit, basically. Um,
Yeah. A lot of it is just like letting go of all the things, that's all the programs, all the ways society programs you, and
yeah.
kind of do the work. That's why, like, RJ Spina's book Change Your Mind, where it helps you deprogram and see a lot of the things in your subconscious so you can let it go. Like a lot of my journey has been like letting it all go. And then once you let, the more stuff you let go, the more of your true self
Yes.
will be there, and it's a lot of like you say with the, like, I was thinking about things like, you need your caregivers. And so it's like your caregivers a lot of times, will, don't cry or I'll give you something to cry about.
Yeah.
So certain stuff
Mhm.
like that just scars you, and because you need them, you know what I mean, you just, they physically hurt you, and so you have, for your survival, you kind of gotta like push certain aspects of yourself away, and sometimes you
Mhm.
push them so far back you forgot about them.
Yeah.
Like I remember when I was having like the twin flame experience, I would see things myself that I would abandon, things in her, and I was like, that was me. Like
Yeah.
I used to do that and I've completely forgot about it. So, but it's,
Mhm.
you know what I mean? And so, yeah, a lot of stuff is letting go of them programs, let go of
Mhm.
those fears, and and then you'll kind of step into your true self.
Yeah, exactly. And it's so powerful when we get to a place where we are conscious about this process. So when we are aware and conscious that everyone around us is our we created everyone around us, everything and everyone we created. And what they are is mirrors
Mm-hmm.
reflecting to us what we are. And so when we're conscious about this, and then on top of that, when there's a group of people that's conscious about this, it's like that is what intentional, deliberate, conscious healing is.
Mm-hmm.
It's not having to find yourself in a situation where everything's being projected and that's the bad guy and all of that, and then we finally get the lesson. And that's how it typically goes for most people. It's like, okay, we're aware of this. You are my mirror. I am you. You are me. This is what's happening, and we're going to work together to do this, to heal. And when we do this, it just gives everyone else permission to do the same thing, so it creates this beautiful ripple effect in the universe.
Facts. And reality is like, it's 100% a mirror. Like I remember I would have these dreams just for years and years, and I would always see mirrors,
Hmm.
but I couldn't put it together. I had never heard of Neville Goddard at that point. You know what I mean? I didn't. I remember I would go through the mirrors, and then it would like kind of shoot me into like a portal and I would just kind of go through dimensions, but I couldn't understand what the mirrors were telling me. And then
Yeah.
I started to get into Neville Goddard, and I would hear, and I was like, that's it. That's what it was trying to show me. It's a mirror. So and that's a hard step for people to make, because
Yeah,
people
it
can
is.
be in that victim, you know what I mean? But no, you fix your frequency, you heal yourself, you deprogram yourself, your whole reality will change. You
Yes.
know what I mean? And that's where manifestation is like you have to let go of
Hmm.
the victimhood. Like a lot of people have been victimized, you know, that we've been put through the ringer. But if you want to step into creator mode and you want to manifest and you want the truth, you
Hmm.
have to realize that you're the creator of your reality. And yes, we've been programmed to not know that. But
Hmm.
the more you let go of all those programmings, the more you heal, you know what I mean? The more you have the courage to step into to acknowledge yourself as the creator,
Hmm.
and you'll start to manifest and just focus on your frequency,
Yeah.
and then reality, your outer reality will catch up.
Hmm.
And so that's,
Exactly.
you know, so
Exactly.
and that's where it's at. And I know it's hard for people to step out of that victimhood. Like I was in victimhood for, you know what I mean, yeah, a while, but that's not where it's at. You know what I mean? That's not for you're the perpetrator and you're the victim. I remember I had a dream.
Yeah.
I had a really interesting dream that stuck with me. Um, and it showed, and this is before I was like unconscious when I had this dream. I was really unconscious. But I remember I was a, and all this, it was like weird because time wasn't a thing. I was there was a vampire, so I was the villain, and I was villainous. You know, I was like a straight villainous vampire, and I was the victim who was terrified of the vampire, and then
Hmm.
I was the detached observer in the sky, and and then I finally realized like how am I all these things?
Yeah.
It's mind boggling when you think of it from this perspective. But in the same dream, and when I was in each character, I was fully that reality. Like
Yeah.
when I was the vampire, I was the vampire. When I was the victim, I was terrified. When I was the god head, I was the godhead. And then that kind of showed me like, yeah, we're all of it. And
Hmm.
you accept it because that's the truth. We're every
Yes. It is so true. And I love how you've had all of these like profound realizations without even sitting with the medicine yet. You haven't sat with Bufo yet, have you?
No, I've all my life I've had a lot of kind of like it was I had all these, I would have these dreams, and these dreams would give me visions in it, and I started to be able to put things together. It kind of like was different from my kind of brainwashing, because I had the brainwashing that was telling me one thing.
Yeah.
I have my experiences that were telling me the truth. And then
Hmm.
that's when that helps me. So when I hear somebody say, I'm like, yep, I know that's it. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Because there's not like an experience. And
Yeah.
you know, and that's why I think Bufo, because sometimes, especially I think it'd be helpful for people that, you know, when you talk to them, it may not click. But
Yeah.
if you have an experience, that'll push the ego, and then you'll be like, okay, now I get it. So that's
Yeah.
why I think things like Bufo are so important if you feel that
Hmm.
like calling for it. And so
Yeah, totally, totally. Um, and the medicine does show us like what you were just describing. Um, because not everybody is able to get to where you're at, where they understand this stuff. So I think it's so beautiful that it's like you're there. Um, and but we all have access to this information. It's just a matter of knowing that, you know? And so most people aren't there yet, and they struggle. They don't believe it. They don't believe that they're the creator, and they believe that they're a victim, and they're stuck in that victimizer paradigm where they either have to be victimized or they have to victimize to survive.
mhm.
And that's lower astral, and that's where, unfortunately, that's where a lot of people are at right now. And so everything you were just describing, that's what it's all about. It's about taking responsibility. And a lot of people don't like this word. A lot of people don't like the word responsibility.
Yeah, yeah.
But what's funny with that is that taking responsibility for the fact that we are the creator, creating everything that happens in our reality, when we take responsibility for this, it is the most empowering thing a person can ever do, because it gives us the freedom and the permission to create whatever we want, which is the coolest thing ever.
Exactly. But when you're so identified with your ego, you know what I mean? And people get so programmed and so identified with their ego, they can't they can't see it. And so, but
Yeah.
it's like we're truly divine fractals of God. Like that's
Mhm.
just the reality. And you have to know that, and that has to be your new identity if you want to
Yes.
see the magic start to work. That's a hard um step to times in the lower astrals ever since I was a kid. And so at first I was like, I thought kind of like God hates me. And now I realize that it was learning. I learned a lot about the negative polarity.
Yeah.
And I learned a lot about detachment because that's how I got out of the like, I would have like current hell dreams because I had a huge fear of eternal torment. And
Mhm.
so the way I kind of shifted my frequency was detachment. So I learned a lot of things just from certain experiences like that, where it taught me the value of detachment to raise your frequency and things like that. But yeah, so taking the responsibility can be hard, especially when you've been so programmed to think to identify with the ego. And it's so empowering though when you step into that you're the divine fractal of God, because then you don't need consumerism. You still want to be abundant because that's who you truly are, and we still, but you don't need it to feel valuable. Where when you're in ego consciousness, you're constantly reaching outside of you to feel like you're not like a piece of shit. And
Yeah.
and that's the kind of energy they want, is they want you to be having to identify with your experiences. So if you're born in poverty, then your ego is going to identify with poverty. If
Hmm.
you're, whatever you're, so if you had rough experiences, you know, you should see them as just experiences. You know what I mean?
Yes.
But our egos attach to them and it becomes
Yeah.
who we are. And then we defend them. Then we fight for our limitations. So
Mhm.
the system kind of, it works in a way. And even like, our the 3D, it works in a way to kind of like trap you, but you got
Hmm.
you got to break out of that. You got to let that ego go as much as you can, and it's a journey. And identify with the reality. You're the creator. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? And once you take that step, people will see like that's where it's at.
Exactly, exactly. And one of the things that Bufo actually showed me was that all of these fears that I had been holding on to, they were all me. Like it was all coming from me. And when
Yeah,
it showed me that, I just started laughing like uncontrollably because I'm like, are
yeah,
you kidding me? But yes, like everything that we are afraid of, this darkness, whatever it is, the ego and separation, the illusion of separation, it's all coming from us and we are creating all of it. And so that goes back to what I was saying about taking responsibility. It's taking responsibility for that because that sets us free. And we realize like we don't have to identify with any of that crap because none of
right.
that is who we actually are. And so, luckily, we can actually recreate ourselves in every present moment. And that's why the eternal present moment, that's the best place to be, constantly bringing ourselves back into the present moment, because in the present moment everything is perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Like everything is perfect in the present moment. And so that goes back to RJ Spina's exercise that he has in, I think it's access super consciousness, um where you close your eyes and you imagine that you have no past and no future and you just got here. like that's like an instant reset for the mind when we get stuck
Yeah.
in the past or the future. We can just reset ourselves, and it's really that easy. But it's just, we got to make these little things a habit to keep bringing ourselves back into the present moment. But that's why it's called the present, because it's a gift. Like I tell
Yeah.
people that all the time. Um,
Yeah.
so so yeah, it's all us. We are creating all of it.
Yeah. That's why when you see people, judging, it's like you got to let that go. Like Jesus talks about not judging.
Yes.
And so many people kind of, it's like you believe in Jesus, but you got to embody that stuff. Like that stuff will
Yes.
literally make your life better. And he's telling you not to judge because that's you. The people that you're judging are you. So of course it's like,
Exactly.
and you see people talking about people, judging people, and part of that is having an ego or ego judges. But the more you can put the ego in check and then stay present, because if you're present, you're not going to be judging,
Mhm.
or if you, I don't know, I don't care. Like I love that
Yes.
by RJ
I
Spina. So,
love that one.
so when you see your mind kind of like just trying to take control and trying to judge and trying to overthink and get lost in the future, bring yourself back, be present, and then it'll take care of that not judging. And so a lot of the teachings, like, yeah, because and then your frequency will raise when you're not judging people, right?
Hmm.
And get into, Christ consciousness, because I believe Jesus isn't telling you that just so you can be good. He's telling you to, like, so you can raise your vibration and have a better life for yourself, because you stop judging, you start having compassion, empathy, be more fearless. You know what I mean?
Yes,
Understand
exactly.
yourself as power, a divine fractal of God. Your
Hmm.
frequency will raise. You'll make better people's lives better around you, and you'll make yours better, your ego's life better. And so that's the key. It's not just about believing.
Yeah.
Anybody can believe in a story. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
But it takes healing to embody, and that was a hard thing for me because I was raised, like I said, by fundamentalism, and
Mhm.
so I wanted to embody Jesus, but I had so much trauma. It's like you got to heal, and then you feel guilt because you can't embody it. But it's like
Mhm.
you got to heal. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And once you heal, then you can start to kind of. But what they got you seeing in separation
Yeah.
and everything, so you got to heal first like that before you can
Mhm.
get, I think, to embody.
Yeah. Yeah, we got to delete the program. And um so one of the first things I started doing on my spiritual journey, like when I first got started and I first started to wake up, is I just asked for the consciousness of Christ to come into my heart. Like I asked to be able to embody the consciousness of Christ every single day, multiple
Mhm.
times a day. And it started to work. Like I started to feel it. And the feeling that I got, that I was given, is the same exact feeling that we had as kids on Christmas morning. Just this sense of love and unity and oneness, and this overwhelming sense of things just being okay and things being good. And so I know for me, one of the more powerful things is when I ask out loud, or command, even when I say something out loud, I always see results from that. Um, and so it's just about being so intentional with everything that we do. Um, and it's with Jesus, it's funny because I'm actually reading a book that I got from Mount Shasta that kind of like translates his teachings in a way that are like easier to like understand. But I took a bunch of notes, and Jesus said, "You are gods. You are all sons and daughters of the Most High. Um, Let your light shine before others, and they will be inspired to find the light within themselves. Love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you, as that is the only way there will be peace. And be perfect, even as your Father in heaven is perfect, yet do not seek praise." So when he referred to the Father in heaven, it's not a sky daddy. It's just the energy that he compared to in the way of a loving father. That's like how he saw like the universe, basically, like a very
Yeah.
loving father. Um, so, and religious indoctrination is a huge thing people are having to heal from. Like they're having
Yeah.
to really look at all of that because unfortunately, man got a hold of everything and distorted it and uses it to control the masses, to control the population with fear. And
Yeah.
so, if it is not love, it is not real. That's what I go by. If it is not love, it is not real because all fear is illusion. And so when we go into these churches and we're told that we should fear God and that we're going to be punished for not living a certain way, that's the opposite of love. That's fear. And really, a lot of people are worshiping the wrong thing and they don't even realize it.
Oh yeah, it can be dark, like you said. And I'm so glad you said that because it's like because it'll say fear God, but then it'll also say fear of the devil, like
Yeah.
fears of the devil. And so it's like I don't think, and then you'll be fearing God, and then that'll lower your frequency.
Yeah.
So you'll attract. They give you a bunch of information that'll just it's good for like attracting demons, and that's
Yeah.
you know what I mean. It'll put you in a vibration of fear and guilt and shame, and then you'll just be attracting demons to you. And then they'll be like, well, why are you sinning? And you know what I mean? So it's like,
Yes. You
and
create
so it's
this
like
portal.
gaslighting you.
Yes. So
You
gaslighting.
get gaslit. So it's like, yeah, you want to be in the frequency of love. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? And so, and love too, because a lot of people hear that, and it's like love is fearless. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's not just like bringing somebody roses and flowers. You know what I mean? It's
Mhm.
like love is fearless. So it's like
Yes.
love is powerful. You know what I mean? Love is
Absolutely.
compassionate, and it's all those. And so the more you follow that, and you work on getting more in that frequency,
Mhm.
then but like that brainwashing, they teach you, you're a sinner, and and you're separate, and you feel guilty, and you got to listen to these rules, and you just
Mhm.
become so psychologically enslaved, and then you manifest a bunch of tragedies, and you don't even real, and then you blame them on the devil.
Yeah.
So it keeps you in victimhood.
Yes.
Well, that's that was a lot of my prevalent in my family, a lot of blaming things on everything on the devil, and
Mhm.
instead of, like, you could also see them as catalysts. You can see them, things that happen that are difficult, you can see them in a positive way. But yeah, it keeps you in that victimhood too. And you're like I was waiting around for Jesus to save me,
Mhm.
thinking like my life will go good. Jesus is gonna save me any minute now. And then it's like you get like, and you just like looking at and it's like any minute, and then you just got to come to the conclusion like, nah, your life is going to be a disaster. And so I think that's a big one that keeps people stuck. Like people
Yes.
literally will be waiting for Jesus to save their life because they feel
Yeah.
so powerless and so drained and
Yeah.
so ignorant. And so it's like, I can't save myself, but Jesus, any minute, he going, you know what I mean? And so
And the whole time, Christ has always been within. It's
it's so
always
close.
been accessible. It's always been with us. It's always been there. That Christ consciousness, like we are all Christ if we choose to access that. Um, and I love how you said that love is fearless because that is so incredibly true. And one thing with my personal experience with really having my focus and attention on the teachings of Jesus and also embodying the consciousness of Christ is that we have to open our hearts to the world, not just some people,
Mm-hmm.
but to everyone. Um,
Yeah.
and that takes a lot of courage
Yeah.
because not everyone is going to be able to receive our love, let alone reciprocate our love. And so we have to be willing to um, essentially take a risk um, and give our hearts to everyone that we cross paths with. And And the thing is it's a balancing act though. So it's like being able to do this with healthy boundaries put in place so we ourselves, so we don't become depleted.
Hmm.
And that's why Jesus was a freaking master at what he did. That's, you know, he was this master healer because he had that balancing act like down. Like he knew when to
Yeah.
retreat and conserve his energy, and then he knew when to come back out and help people. Um, and so I mean that's what it's really all about. And ultimately it's all about unconditional love. And so it's really beautiful, and it's fearless, and it takes a lot of courage, and courage is doing something despite your fears. That's
Hmm.
what courage is. And so yeah, so what I have to say to me and you and everyone else who is really embodying this consciousness of Christ is that we are so needed in the world, and we are so brave, and I am just really freaking proud of all of us. So that's
Yeah.
what I have to say about that.
Yeah, and I think like you nailed it on the conserving your energy. That's why, because you need that energy
Yeah.
to, and that's why I think a big part of the system is to keep you attached to everything. So it's draining your energy to keep you depleted, depressed, thinking your self-worth is outside of you and looking for validation and all these things. So you don't have the energy to change the world. So it's
Mm-hmm.
like, yeah, so you have to be mindful. That's
Yeah.
important of like breaking addiction. So your energy, so you have more energy, breaking attachments, breaking it,
Yes.
being able to generate your own confidence and self-worth and all those things so you can
Mm-hmm.
then have the energy to go on to be of service,
Mm-hmm.
because a lot of people can't be
Exactly.
of service because they don't have no energy.
Exactly. That's energy is everything. And Jesus was an alchemist of energy. He knew how energy worked. And he would stare at the sun, he would sun gaze, and the sun is actually that's pure source energy. So that's something that I do as much as I can. And that's probably why they constantly try to block out the sun with fake weather and all of that crap. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, the sun, like Jesus was the sun.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's it's really cool because there's all these different ways of telling the story of Jesus and everything else that ever existed. But ultimately, when you take this bird's eye view, all of these stories, it all tells the same story.
Yeah.
Um, it all tells the same story of the same God. It's the same truth, and it all boils down to the fact that it's within us.
Yeah.
And so this is why I facilitate Bufo, because it gives us this tangible knowing. Like when you have that experience with this medicine, you cannot deny the truth any longer. It is
Yeah.
very difficult to go back to your regular slave mentality 3D matrix life after having this experience.
Yeah.
And so that's why the integration process is something that Pete and I have been really focusing on to help you guys navigate through afterwards, because basically what's going to happen is you're all Bufo aligned you, so it puts you in alignment with your highest calling, like your passion, like why you incarnated here on this planet. That's going to be revealed to you. And
Mm.
sometimes it'll be revealed right away. Other times it'll take, a little bit of time, but ultimately it's going to show you why you came here. So basically, um, Pete and I are here to activate the members of the 144,000 Oversoul by reminding everybody of why you're here, which is, and also reminding everybody that you are all light. You are all God. You are all gods. You're all the most high, like, and you always have been. So it's like Pete and I, like our task, our mission um is to snap those out of the matrix who are still stuck in there. Um, and this medicine is the quickest possible way to do that so far. So, so yeah, I'm really, really excited. And this was an awesome conversation.
Yeah. Yeah. I loved it. Yeah. I'm really grateful for you and Pete You know what I'm saying? Like something about both of your energy was like, you know what I mean? I resonated with, like it seemed so, and I really had a hard time finding my path in life, and this is the one thing that makes sense to me. I know. So yeah.
Yeah, it's perfect. And everyone who's coming to the retreat, like every single person is so freaking excited about the retreat. And that's making me even more excited because it
Yeah.
is like we are all there. We are all going to be there for the same reason. And it's to come together and create a freaking ripple in the universe. Like, so it's going to be so amazing just like being around, being with each other and having the experience of the ceremony. And I am so excited. Like words can't even do it justice. But so yeah.
Yeah, me too. That's why I have to keep bringing myself to the present moment, because I get to thinking about it and like, no, focus on, you know what I mean, the here and now. And so, yeah, yeah, I can't wait
Yeah,
for that.
totally,
And I think it's
totally.
amazing what y'all are doing. You know, I think that,
Thank you so much. Yeah. And we're here to give you guys all permission to do the same thing because that's why you guys are all here too. Like you are us.
exactly. Yep.
So you are all aspects of our soul. We are aspects of your soul. We're all the same. So all we are is a permission slip. All the medicine is a permission slip to access your highest timeline. So with this, the way that it's set up, it's like get ready to step onto your highest timeline. That's the biggest thing with everyone who's coming. Like get ready for your life to change in the best possible way that's going to have the biggest possible impact on the entire planet. Like that's how big this is.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I
so
know. Like
it's
this is it.
it's go time. It's go time, and it's so exciting, and it's such a cool freaking timeline that we are all on together.
Yeah. It's unbelievable. I never expect to, you know, for my life experiences to be where they're at now.
Yeah.
It was so the opposite. So
Yeah, yeah. And it's so beautiful because we all had to experience the depths of hell. So we could experience this bliss and heaven on earth that we are walking into and creating right now. So it was all terrible and it was all necessary and
yeah,
beautiful at the same
yeah, and
time.
it was definitely beautiful, because now I look at it and I just like have gratitude for it and have love for it, and it's just like cool. But
Yeah.
I'm ready for the next part of the journey.
Yes, yes, totally. Totally. So I am so excited to meet you in person and I'm sure we'll talk again. Like we can do
Yeah.
another episode. I'm totally down.
Oh, same,
So
100%.
so
Yeah,
yeah, we'll
appreciate.
keep in touch.
All right, appreciate you
All right.
on this.
Thank you. Have
All
a
right,
beautiful day.
all right, you too.
Bye.